Late in the evening of December Maus T down Tening Arsha, the Harry S. Truman strike group was lurking off the coast of Yemen that evening, and the sailors on board those ships were looking forward to more than just the usual Saturday evening pizza and wings being served on the mess. The crew of the Harry S. Truman was busy preparing for a light round of flight quarters. While the carriers escorting destroyers performed picket duties around her just after dinner, the first planes roared off the deck of the Truman. It was this first wave of aircraft that would be vital in the impending mission, you see. The very first aircraft to take off was no fighter aircraft, rather. It was the UD Hawkeye with its iconic radar dome above the aircraft. This is because of the fantastic capabilities of that radar. Just like in the real world, you don't want to go into a fight blind. The same applies to strikes like this, with the ability to scan for enemy radar emissions at distance. While exceeding 17 nautical miles, the Hawkeye's main purpose is to prepare the battle space by telling the strike group where the enemy defense sites are located. The Hawkeye can also detect missile launches up to 17 nautical miles and enemy aircraft at around the same distance. All of this data is then fed back in real time to the strike group via link. SO commanders on board the Truman can understand what they're going against before the first fighter ever leaves the deck. And this is because the hotties, despite their poor production quality propaganda videos and shoddy marching, are actually quite heavily armed thanks to years of foreign military aid because of the chaos that has gripped Yemen for the past few decades. The hotties have managed to get a hold of a vast arsenal of air defense systems, though. The quantity, quality, and capability of each of these systems greatly var the fact that the hotties have gathered such an arsenal is impressive. For example, the Houthi most common air defense systems are Soviet man-portable Strela systems, as well as their Chinese and Iranian clones of the Strela. In addition, hotties possess hundreds of Zetsu-type anti-DAN aircraft guns. However, these systems are only viable against low-DAN flying aircraft for targeting planes at higher altitudes. The Houthis have gotten a hold of a HDGH Podge of surface-to-air missiles, or SAMs like the Soviet Sasa and SA-2SY systems, along with Iranian-donated SAM. Like the Seed family of missiles, and the Houthis have shown they're fairly decent at using them over the years. Houthis have damaged or destroyed several Saudi military aircraft, as well as downed at least Wusha drones, including several U.S. Reaper drones, because of this. Conducting strikes over Yemen is not the same as it would be over places like Iraq or Afghanistan. But this is all part of the plan once the Hawkeyes identify where all the SAM sites are, since many of them are mobile and are not always in the same position as the last time. The commanders on board the Truman can finalize the strike package. The next sortie that roars off of the Truman's deck are the E-Bayaba Growlers. These aircraft, which are based on the same air frame as the Super Hornet, are the next vital part of the strike package, though these planes do carry IORDUNAMAM missiles. Their priority purpose is not to shoot down enemy aircraft or drop bombs on targets. Rather, their primary purpose is clearing a path for the Super Hornets. They do this through the use of some pretty amazing technology. If you look at the wing tie piece, you'll see what looks like two bombs. However, these are not bombs, but are actually a Q-Joshijo jamming pots. The purpose of these pots is to blind the enemy air defense radars in various ways, depending on the situation. Like if the pilot knows what air defense radars they're up against, thanks to the Hawkeyes earlier recon, the pilot can overload the same frequency of the enemy radar with noise to render it useless. If unknown or the frequency of the radar hops around, the pilot can use barrage jamming that sends a powerful burst of energy over multiple frequencies. Or if the pilot really wants to throw them off, they can choose deception jamming that actually feeds false data to the enemy radar sites to make the Houthis waste their missiles, and these are just the soft kill options the Growler has available. In addition to this, the Growler also carries AGM Bashabasaushi EAG Jan Speed Anti-Jan Radiation Missiles, or HARM missiles. HARM missiles' sole purpose in life is to make a beeline for any enemy radar emitter and destroy it with no radar. Any remaining SAMs on the ground are just high-price paperweights as the Growlers continue clearing a path through Houthi air defenses, while the Hawkeyes maintain overwatch on the whole operation. The final sorties of the night take off. It is here that the much-awaited Fa-Ba Super Hornets come on the scene with the ability to break the sound barrier and crew ease at up to Wushi. Lininin Yunchu, the Fa-Ba Super Horn can remain out of reach of most Houthi systems, however, because most of the Houthi arsenal is geared towards low-altitude flight. The Super Hornets are going to stay well out of range of most Houthi systems, with Growlers jamming or destroying any emitters in their path. With the coast now clear, the formation of Fushaba-S head toward their targets, an underground missile storage facility on one mountain, a command post, sending targeting data on another, and the bridge that links the two. As the Fushaba pilots near the objective, they suddenly hear some frantic chatter on the radio. The Houthis, now aware that they under attack because their SAM sites have been destroyed, begin retaliating at the U.S. ships off the coast by firing an anti-Jan ship cruise missile and several one-Janway attack drones at ships steaming off the coast. But thanks to the robust air defenses of those ships, the U.S. Navy easily swats them down like you would a fruit fly. Over your week-old mangoes, reassured that the ships are fine out to sea, the Fu Shabas continue pressing their attack with the ability to carry over Shutsiwan Tsi-10 of bombs and missiles, over a dozen varieties across different hardpoints on the aircraft. The Super Hornet really lives up to its name with the amount of sting it can carry. But for tonight's mission, the Fu Shabas in formation are probably carrying a mix of Joint Directed Attack Munitions and Blue Shiren Bunker Busters. Joint Directed Attack Munitions, or JDAM, are the GPS guidance kits that are attached to Mk Bashar bombs to turn them into smart bombs. These standard Bi-bomb bombs are ideal for destroying the infrastructure above ground, but for the below-ground targets, the Below Yaolinzhou is a Laotian bomb that can easily penetrate Citadel Yuncher of reinforced concrete or about Shuwu to Arsha Yuncher of earth and rock before exploding, because the hotties likely put their weapons more than a few feet underground during the attack. The pilots will each conduct a pass with their weapons because by themselves, each plane may not be capable of destroying the bunker. But when hit by a dozen or more bunker busters, the weapon storage facility and command post will go boom. And that is exactly what happened according to images and video released by the Houthis. The devastation on these 3 sits was catastrophic. Adding to the carnage was the fact that all of the weapons stored underground blew up, which essentially took the top of the mountain off. Though the Houthis claimed they had shot down one aircraft, this was proven to be false because it was actually the one trigger-happy crew member of the Gettysburg deleted as soon as they got in the theater in response to the strike. The U.S. Central Command issued a statement that said in part that the U.S. was merely defending its ships from attack, as well as the right of any ship to use the Red Sea for international trade. But why are the Houthis conducting strikes in the first place since November? Downstanding Arshasen, the Houthis have conducted more than Yolinin attacks against military and merchant shipping in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. The main reason they claim they're doing this is in solidarity with Hamas as they fight Israeli troops in Gaza after the October Tea massacre. These attacks are a huge deal and slashed international trade through the Suez Canal, which is the world's most vital waterway by about 500 Sishuwu overall. In response to these terror attacks, the U.S. Navy began Operation Prosperity Guardian in December. Downstanding Arshasen, this operations core is a U.S. JAN LED multinational task force with partner nations contributing ships, aircraft, and other materials support. The U.S. has been leading the charge in escorting ships through the high-threat area of the Gulf of Aden and the area around the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. But despite these efforts, the Houthis have not only continued attacking shipping, but have also been firing cruise missiles and drones into Israel itself. Because of this, the U.S. continually strikes Houthi targets whenever the U.S. Navy gets good data on pawn storage facilities and command and control centers. However, because the Navy cannot hope to take out the entire Houthi military from the sea, the goal is to destroy as much of their infrastructure like missile sites, radar installations, and command centers that process retaliation to U.S. shipping like the October Liaosening Arsha Sea Mouse Tricon did by Air Force BR bombers that destroyed 5 underground weapon storage facilities. But these tip-forward strikes in Yemen against the Houthis may have far-reaching repercussions now that the geopolitical scale has changed in recent months. The Houthis only exist because of Iran, the Iranian Revolution. Air Guard Corps is the primary force behind arming, training, funding, and advising the Houthis. This support takes the shape of creating shell companies to illegally smuggle weapons, the presence of Iranian support ships off the coast as intelligence and supply bases, the donation of money, and the training in Iran of soldiers sent back to Yemen to lead Houthi formations. Though the Houthis claim they're independent of Iranian influence, that could not be any further from the truth. The Houthis differ from the Iranians in name only. Higher headquarters in Tehran direct everything they do, and any independent actions the Houthis take are to show they're faulty to Iran. Bye for now.